I'm here to spill the tea today. I know a business owner, not mentioning any names, so they know who they are, who went through 12, that's right, 12 different VAs within a 2 year period. 12. That's 12 times every few months, right? Somebody's gone. So 12 times hiring, 12 times onboarding, and starting from scratch. It's just a revolving door of good people, but they never really had a chance. So, how do you hire 12 people and none of them stick? It was never the VAs themselves. Nobody helped that business owner decide who to hire or whether or not the VA was the right move for their first hire. It's a solopreneur reflex, right? I know I'm guilty of it myself. When you're a solopreneur, you automatically think your first hire needs to be a VA of some sort. It's a default, right? Like you're not alone. Everybody mostly does that. But people hire fast and don't have any SOPs or systems in place, don't have job descriptions or a clear idea of what they actually want that VA to do. And that doesn't necessarily end up meaning that that VA was a bad hire. It just means they weren't set up to succeed, right? And so think about all of the uncounted costs associated with that. You have your onboarding hours, your stalled work, losing trust in delegating at all. It adds up, and this happening time after time really causes some, tumultuous energy in your relationship. You do not have a VA problem. You have a no system problem. It keeps happening, right? So why does it keep happening? You hired to relieve the pain, not to fill a defined role. I just need help. That's a feeling. That's not a job itself. Think about that. And I know it sometimes can feel really desperate, but hiring out of desperation always leads to bad choices and, more money lost. And honestly wastes of time that happen over and over again. With no clarity on what you need exactly, you grab the fastest option, sometimes the cheapest, easiest option, and you're running on hope and, really like putting all your eggs in one basket. Hiring because you're overwhelmed is how you end up managing someone who ends up adding to the overwhelm. And I've seen this happen again and again. So, how do you actually decide who to hire? My best piece of advice to start: track where your time goes for 1 week. Okay, put all your tasks that you're doing and just add it to an overall spreadsheet. You have things I'm doing, right? You're adding everything to that. You can think about what drains you from that list, what you and only you can do, and make note of that. And then you can separate those things into cheap to delegate or high value to delegate. Sometimes your first hire should take the high value thing so you can do what only you can do, right? Your time is the most expensive and the most valuable. Think about what's actually costing you money. Is it unanswered leads? Is it, dropping off when it comes to following up? Maybe your first hire isn't an admin. Maybe it's more of like a customer accounts person. Think about where you're losing sales, where you're losing client engagements. That's another area to add to your list of delegation tasks. Once you have a pretty substantial list of tasks that you do that you've identified that you can let go of or pass on to somebody else, you can start to categorize them. So think about, this may be an operational function. This actually is more of a sales function. Maybe this is for an admin, or maybe this is a VA. By the end of this exercise, I would say give yourself 2 weeks and just go through your day to day. If you force yourself to sit down and think about this in one turn, it's going to be super painful and you're most likely going to forget things. So I would just say do it as you go through your weeks, and you should have a pretty comprehensive list afterwards. Categorize them, and it'll help you determine who that first person is to hire. Decide what you need before you decide who to hire. In that order, always non-negotiable. Job description comes before anybody applies to a job because you want to be clear on what you need for you and your business to grow and not just cater it to what somebody else wants to bring. Okay. So make sure you have a really good list of what to delegate, what to offload, and what gaps you have on your team so that you can create that job description. And again, it could be a VA, but I want you to go through this exercise first so that you're hiring with intention. That's the whole point behind this. So here's where I say the words human resources and you're not gonna run, okay? You're gonna listen to this. HR for a solopreneur isn't a department, it isn't red tape, it's not someone coming in to tell you you're doing everything wrong, it's not someone coming in to ticket you for doing things wrong or getting creative. It's just the function that makes hiring work. Who to hire, where to hire, setting up your onboarding, a simple handbook, right? What do you do after somebody's hired? Now you have somebody. How do you get them ingrained in your team and hold them accountable? That's what the HR function is. Anything to do with people. So if you're a solopreneur hiring your first employee, I hate to say it, but you could use HR. You could benefit from it. And don't freak out. It's not a bad thing. It's a great thing. It's a sign that your business is thriving and growing and that you want to create a team that's dedicated to your business, but also grows your business with you. And you want to treat people well. You don't need an HR department. You need the HR function. And those are two very different things. So what changes, right? When you're hiring that right person, you hire once and they stay, right? Everybody leaves at some point, but you have somebody that's dedicated to your team, that is clear on what they need to be doing, that is doing their job, that is growing your business with you, that is aligned with your mission, vision, values, that's really helping you build out and expand into this next phase of business. You stop being the bottleneck, right? Because you have somebody who you can trust to get their job done. You don't have to make every decision or push every initiative forward. Now you have somebody that you've clearly delegated to that knows what they can move forward on their own. And you trust your delegation, and guess what? You get time back yourself. What did I say earlier? Your time is the most valuable and that's the most expensive. So make sure you're getting that time back for yourself to focus on all of the bigger picture stuff for your business. The goal isn't just to hire. It's to never be stuck in that revolving door again. Because when you're stuck in that revolving door, you can't move anything forward besides that thing, right? You're constantly doing cleanup. You're constantly trying to figure out, where did this person leave off? Not only how can I hire a new person and get them onboarded, but how can I figure out where that last person was? It's a waste of time. This is exactly some of the stuff I look at with my 3-month project with small businesses, but more on that soon. Comment discovery and let's see where you're at in your business.